Blog Talk Radio.
Paranormal Review Radio.
Hello and welcome, everyone. It is Friday night, and you are listening to Paranormal Review Radio, the only radio show without commercials and with more great paranormal talk. I'm Anthony Agati in New York.
And I'm Lucy Liebfried in Chicago. Are you ready for another Paranormal Friday night? We're so happy that you can join us. We welcome all of our regular listeners and those of you who have tuned in for the very first time. Now, if you've got a question for our guests tonight, or if you would like to get a reading, feel free to ask us in the chat room or call into the show at 661-244-9831. We will try to get to you as soon as we can. Don't forget, you can always send us an email with future topics that you'd like to see on our show, or if you just want to say hi. Our email address is paranormalreviewradio@yahoo.com. And last but not least, check us out on our Facebook show page and our YouTube channel for more information on the paranormal and upcoming shows.
You know, astrology is one of the most profound sacred sciences known to man. Since the dawn of civilization, the stars and planets have been used as celestial guides for human affairs. Surely none other than the Infinite One could have created something with such unfathomable depth, complexity, and beauty. Some of the most brilliant minds of all time have openly endorsed the incredible wisdom that speaks to us through the majestic movement of these ancient powers. Our guest tonight is one of these brilliant minds. Phil Booth's interest in astrology began very early in his life as he was growing up in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, fired up his passion for the message of the stars. In university, he studied political science and history with the goal of pursuing a career in law and politics. His plans quickly changed after seeing and sensing that the next few decades would bring extensive and dramatic change to the stability of society and the world. A greater understanding of the meaning of life and the natural cycles of nature that govern it was essential. After traveling to California and then back to Canada, Phil Booth set out for Europe and worked for the UK newspapers giving astrological readings, and then spent time on UK television on a reality show called Eden. Phil has been around the world sharing his gift and teaching mankind to embrace the miraculous. He has an amazing website called boothstars.com where you can go and read about your horoscopes and give you an insightful thought for the day. Lucy and I are truly excited to have Phil with us tonight, and you should be too, as Mr. Booth will give some lucky listeners an astrological reading that will change your life. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Phil Booth to the show. Hi, Phil. So happy you could join us tonight.
Hi, Anthony. Yes, it's my pleasure. Fantastic. It's lovely to speak to you both, Lucy, too, and Anthony. It's wonderful. Thanks for the invitation.
Hey, Phil. You know, it is an honor to have you on. You know, so many people have mentioned your name to us and said that we just had to have you on the show and talk to you. So can you tell us what this astrological journey has been like for you?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It's one of those things that certainly, fired me up for, I've always been really interested in astrology, but never really took it up until about the mid-'90s, and that's when I was playing tennis. I used to live in England. I lived in France, lived in Greece a bit, lived in England for about 20 years or so. And I was playing tennis, and I ruptured my Achilles tendon in 1994, just when the Schumacher-Levy comet hit Jupiter. A lot of people don't remember that, but that was a huge event when that comet got hit, because it started, made us realize that we're actually the world is finite, and the end of the world could come, with asteroids. Now we're always watching for asteroids and everything, but back in '94, the idea, of an asteroid or anything hitting it was really remote. You know, it's not the kind of thing that would happen. Anyway, Schumacher-Levy hits Jupiter, and my Achilles tendon ruptures playing tennis. I'm lying on the ground there thinking, what is going on here? I wasn't really sure what happened, but, you know, I did find out that I'd have like something like 6 months, you know, with a cast, and it would take about a year to recover. And I thought, oh, I've got to do something positive here. And I thought, oh, this is it. Astrology. Boom, I'm getting in. So I just got a stack of books. I kept reading, and then I started going up to London, England. I started studying it there with in a school of astrology that was there. And that's what sort of kicked me in. And it wasn't like, you know, started going in a little bit. I sort of dropped everything and went straight in, which is not always the best way to do it, but that's the way I did it. But and then I just took it from there. I just kept reading charts, and next thing I knew, I was on BBC Radio, sort of doing, you know, just what we're doing here. I used to go on weekly or maybe monthly a lot of times, but I was a regular on there, so I'd taking calls, looking at people's charts, and then got on the reality TV as well too, and then came back to Canada and started, you know, with the Toronto Star here, doing writing the horoscope column in there too. But you know, astrology is just amazing. The fantastic thing about it is that you know, I realize more and more as time goes on that you know, well, it's based on the Western astrology is based on mythology, like Greek mythology. But you know, you can Egyptian mythology is you know, very relevant as well. Any kind of mythology, really. But you know, the planets like Jupiter is Greek god Zeus. You know, Venus is Aphrodite. Mercury is Hermes. And when you read the actual mythological stories, it's unbelievable how they correspond. And you realize that in ancient times, they didn't have psychology like we have today, but they had the gods. And it was the same thing. It's the way they understood the unconscious was by knowing what the gods were up to. And, you know, they may have not discovered Neptune or Uranus back in those days, but they knew about the gods. Poseidon was Neptune. So if you knew if Poseidon's working against you, you're in big trouble. And, you know, you kind of have a loss of identity. You know, in stories like the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey, you get Poseidon is a major character, a major player in that one there. He's modern-day or Roman Neptune. And astrologically, like, you know, when you look at the planets, the planetary cycles, it relates directly to Neptune. So that was the way they could sort things out. And they also knew they could appeal to the gods, too. Nowadays, we call them energies. You know, like in New Age parlance, they're called energies.
Right.
In psychology, they're called Carl Jung, you know, accepted astrology, used astrology. He realized it was based on something that was very valid. And, you know, he used the name archetypes. So he put it all in scientific terms, you know. He didn't want them to be put in a straitjacket or anything, you know. So he kept it in scientific terms. But yeah, I mean, is there? That's kind of like putting it in a nutshell, you know. But it's absolutely fascinating. You know, when I do seminars as well too, we sort of look at people's charts as well too, but and look at you know, what the energies of the planets are doing. You know, and right now, I mean, this is a huge thing going on in the sky. Uranus, Pluto, you know, squares. I sort of describe it in the thoughts of the day. I always try to keep it simple. I don't like to make things complicated, you know. You don't want too many astrological terms in there, you know. You got to keep it so people can relate to it. But, you know, you just see what's going on, you know, in the world now, weather, everything. I mean, the States has got huge floods at the moment, right, down in Missouri. I don't know if it's going on today, over the last couple of days. I mean, there's no end to this. And there's dolphins as well, too. That's sort of breaking news now. A lot of dolphins
on the East Coast.
On the East Coast. Do you know last year, because, I mean, I look at things like that all the time, like as omens. Last year, a lot of people forget it, but 2012, it was about January, February, dolphins were beaching at Cape Cod on the land there, the spit that comes out. And it was making news back there. Of course, you know, everyone forgets it, but I keep watching all the stuff like this because I see them as omens. And when I saw those dolphins, I remember writing on my website, on the Thought for the Day, those dolphins coming down in there are spelling something that will probably come later in the year, maybe the autumn, some problem. That's the sense I had, that it was the dolphins were kind of warning us of something happening. And boom, what happens? You get Hurricane Sandy hit that area and went through New Jersey, and it, you know, it was that whole area there really got hit hard. This thing there now is, you know, it does worry me saying that, but you know, I like seeing things positively. I'm not like I don't like, you know, harbingers of doom. Got to keep
right.
it. I like looking at things positively. But and remember all the dead birds and fish back in 2010. That was New Year's Eve. I mean, those were omens there of what was coming in 2011. Yeah, go ahead. What was you going to say?
Well, you know what? When we were doing the research and everything, basically almost everybody that you come across as one time or another, the introduction to astrology is usually through the daily horoscope, either in the print media or online. And a lot of us, they do check it every day, but a lot of people don't really know exactly what astrology is.
Right.
So to keep it simple, how would you describe what astrology is to the average person?
As you say, like most people sort of read the horoscope. And I'll tell you what, before, I really studied astrology, I never used to look at horoscopes. I could never relate to them, the newspaper stuff, because I thought, it's really general and things like that. And maybe it's the way they wrote it. I couldn't really relate to it. But then when I started writing them, I said, it's a way of sort of reaching out to masses of people at the same time. And I look at things kind of from a philosophical point of view. I look at personal development. We're here to do something, and astrology helps us do that. It's finding the meaning of life. We're not here just to eat, sleep, and watch TV and work. We're here to do something. This is a test tube here. We got a short space of time, and the way I look at it is, we're reincarnated, we're reborn, and we're here. And it's like, okay, you got your chance. You're on your mission impossible. You're born. Do something. And you got to make spiritual progress, because you got to get out of this place, this material world that we live in. Because there's a nirvana, there's a perfect world out there. That's where we're trying to get to. So but the problem is, as soon as we're born, we have a soul and it's born, and then we're put in here, and we sort of take on our body, and then we forget why we came here. It's like the memory is erased, and we spend our life trying to remember, why are we here? What are we doing? And a lot of people never figure it out. I think, sort of reach the point where they die, and then suddenly think, oh no, I missed it again, I have to go back. I have to go back to the underworld and wait for the next chance. Who knows what that's going to be. I don't know exactly what happens after that, but that's the kind of hunch, that's the kind of feeling I have about it. And astrology, the stars, is like your map to freedom. It's like getting out of the concentration camp. It's like you look at it. The more and more I look at clients, because I get clients coming every day, Skype, telephone, in person here in Toronto. I got clients all over the world. With Skype, it's fantastic because I can show them the chart on Skype, and talk to people in California, British Columbia, Australia, Taiwan, all over the place with Skype and telephone too. But what it is it's an escape route. It's like you can look at your chart, you see your strengths, your weaknesses. You see what you're born into. You get a hint of what happened maybe in past lives or things that have been dragged on. You realize, you can look at the parental areas, like the mother influence, the father influence when you're born, because those are the two poles we deal with, right, when we're born. And there's all kinds of information. Your personality, your character, your ability to sort out financial issues, where you have financial pressures in your life. You can look at communication. Are you good at administration? There's all sorts of things that come up in the chart that you can look at, and you can see, where the difficulties are, and relate it to events that happen in your life. It's like an archaeological dig, and then you can look at your fixed chart, like what you're born with, and then look at what the planets are doing yesterday, today, tomorrow. Those are called transits. And you can see, as the stars wheel by, as Homer said, he referred to the stars wheeling by. As they wheel by, then you can relate it to your own chart, so you can see when you had crisis in the past, how you dealt with it. For some people, they're very sensitive. They get hit hard by certain alignments, by big planets, like astrologically, like Pluto and that. They can be depressed. Sometimes they have to go on medication. Others can survive without that. But, whatever way, we're all trying to survive. We're trying to get through and trying to find peace, happiness. So it's a path to happiness, really. Just trying to find out why we're here and try to find our fulfillment. Does that explain it at all?
Yes, and I love that.
Yeah.
Well, just to expand on that a little bit, I mean, and I'll give you an example. If there are, say, 10 people that are born on April 1st, 1952 at 6:50 a.m., and they've all got the same date and the same time. Would you, in essence, say that they're sort of living similar lives?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. It's like, twins. You get twins born almost at the same time, or can somebody be born the same day and same time as Adolf Hitler? And does he become, like a fascist leader, or does he actually become an artist?
Right.
And what I think the key is that what I've realized in looking at all these charts, like thousands and thousands of charts, is that we have a personality. We are a soul. So we are a person, like an entity. And we're coming from it's not a tabula rasa. We're not just zero and we start from scratch. We're already established there. So what we do is we take on a body, or we take on clothes. It's almost like our body's like our clothing. We take on this clothing. But we're a different, everyone, who's running the boat, who's the tiller, on the boat. So you can have like a lot of people born at exactly the same time, same place, but they're going to come out with totally different personalities, but there will be certain parallels. They might hit crises at the same time, but they will deal with them in different ways, because they'll have they all come from different families too, depending on your experience. I keep going to past lives again. I don't want to overemphasize that. You don't need to believe in past lives to believe in astrology, but I'm just saying that we're born with a personality, so we all respond to challenges in different ways. So, some people, if it's an Adolf Hitler, and, they'll respond to it, maybe with paranoia or whatever. Or a lot of us, respond more with fear. Or if you're like sort of an Oprah Winfrey, then you respond with, I'm going to beat this. Or if you're Tiger Woods or Bill Clinton or Richard Branson, you respond in a different way. Some people go into fear mode. And so when you get a hard alignment, by certain planets, you get alignment. It's like you're in the middle, let's say, like if you imagine like here in the Earth, we're geocentric, so right here in the Earth. So if you look up, Pluto's off at, let's say, 9 o'clock, Uranus is up at 12 o'clock, then you got a 90-degree angle. That's called it's an alignment, square alignment, which it presents challenges. And it's good, there's 5 basic, they're called aspects or alignments. They're called Ptolemaic alignments. But if some are harmonious, some create challenges. But if someone's faced with a certain challenge, like maybe a certain planet's moving into a difficult area of their chart, like a difficult area of the sky, and is creating tension in their personal chart, which sounds really weird, but I'll tell you, it does relate when I look at charts. Wherever the planet is, does affect what they have within their own personal chart. So if you get everyone will respond a different way. So you get a Richard Branson, they'll respond one way, or Oprah Winfrey. They'll say, we're going to sort this out. You're going to find a solution. I know, within themselves, whether they're spiritually minded or not. I mean, I think Oprah Winfrey's definitely spiritually minded. I don't know about Richard Branson. Maybe he is. But the thing is, there is a spiritual connection. They feel that they got strained. So they fight it. They don't get scared. They fight it. Most of us will go into fear mode. So we sort of shrink back into the shell. And then we're sunk, because someone comes along and steps on the snail, and that's it. So it's how we respond to it. So it's like, I don't believe in just like fixed destiny. Like, yeah, we are on a destiny, but we can crack it. We can break it. We can get out of it. And it all depends how we respond. And some people are born with a natural ability to fight it off and beat it. So you can have, like you said, Anthony, you can have 5 people lined up, born all at the same time, but their essential personality is different. So how they respond to the alignments that, the transits that come up, where the planets are, and how they respond to their own personal chart will be different. So you got 2 twins that have different personalities. One will be extrovert, one will be introvert. But you'll find, when you look at the chart, you'll find that the chart relates to them in a certain way, but they'll still have different personalities. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like
it makes perfect sense. And I think what I'm getting is basically the stars are sort of giving you the road map, but you are still the driver.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You're still the driver. So you can take your car and you can crash it into a ditch on the way there, or you can stay on the road and keep it. And I mean, that's actually an image I use a lot with people. So you've got to. What I've learned in my life is you've got to keep your thoughts on a winning track. You got to keep thinking, I can find a solution. I can solve this problem. Don't get scared. And we all go into the fear mode. But it's like when you drive, it's like the image I use is like if you drive in a car, holding your thoughts on a positive keel is like holding onto the steering wheel, which relates to Hermes, like Mercury in a chart, because you got Mercury and Venus. Mercury's the closest to the sun, and then there's Venus, and they're in between us and the sun. And the sun symbolizes the golden path, the yellow brick road, the shining road to our freedom and our fulfillment. That's where we're going. Mercury is like the logic, and it's a thinking process, and it's a strategy. Hermes represents, when you look at Greek mythology, fascinating stuff comes up there. But Hermes is like, he's a merchant, he's a wheeler-dealer. It's an unemotional thing. It's more like trying to get the right strategy. And if you need strategy, you look to Mercury. And I sort of liken that to driving a car as well too. You hold on to that steering wheel and you got to keep it on the road. So it's like you're still driving. Don't go off the road into the ditch and hit buildings and things like that.
I wanted to go back a little bit, and I'm always fascinated. I know Lucy is always fascinated when somebody has that spark in their life. And I mentioned in the intro about how you were sort of on the path for studying law and politics, and then all of a sudden switched to astrology, and you had the feeling that the world was going into chaos. It was going to be going into chaos. What was that like? I mean, was it a vision? Was it a feeling? Was it a thought that came over you?
Yeah, well, it was a real powerful shift. I didn't know it when I started studying astrology years later. Like that was about 1972. Before 72, I was really out there. I was going to become a lawyer. I was going to go into politics, and I thought, that's the way to go. And then I just had an unbelievable spiritual shift there. And it was, when I look back on it and I look at it astrologically, I can see Neptune came into a very powerful place in my chart. And I thought, no wonder, because Neptune has to do with spirituality, rules Pisces. And all of a sudden, it's the time I started having really powerful dreams. And all of a sudden, it's like Neptune kind of dissolves and melts things down, and it's almost like everything I wanted was a meltdown. I mean, but when I say meltdown, I didn't have a nervous breakdown or anything like that. It wasn't that, but it's just everything I wanted. It was like wax. All of a sudden, it just melted and disappeared. And suddenly I realized there was I didn't want to pursue kind of the material anymore. I wanted to pursue spiritual understanding. Why am I here? Why do I exist? And I started getting interested in philosophers like Emerson and Thoreau, the American philosophers.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden I just became consumed with all of that, which caused a big change in my personality, and caused some problems too. A lot of people, like my family, and I wondered, what's happened to Phil? He was going to be a lawyer, and now he's like, like hanging around looking at the clouds all day and reading Plato and that kind of thing. And he looks at, I think something's happened to him. He's had a nervous breakdown. But I didn't have a nervous breakdown. It's just, it was, all of a sudden I was more interested in Plato and Socrates. And, in there Socrates would say, we sit on the hills looking at the clouds, and the people think we're crazy. And I thought, all of a sudden I really identified with that. And it held on for a real long time. And I felt like I had to, it's almost like going into the desert. It was like, 20, 30 years or more, trying to find the meaning of life. And then I started, like I said, in the mid-'90s. This was back in 72. Then, and I got married. I had a daughter, and that was all lovely, with my daughter. But then, in the 90s, that's when astrology, was pushed into my life by rupturing my Achilles tendon. And then I started gradually making sense. Time whizzes by. I mean, it's almost 20 years now since then, and the evolution of understanding, it just keeps going. But that was a huge change back then, boy. It was scary.
You just briefly touched on the word evolution. I mean, do you feel the study of astrology is perceived differently in this day and age as opposed to, say, like 100 or 1,000 years ago?
I think it is. I think we live in a sort of corrupted reality, I believe that Atlantis existed, and I think the Egyptian priests, like the high Egyptian priests in ancient Egypt, like 2500 BC and before, around that time. I think the high priests had the knowledge, from Atlantis, and they knew that there was a perfect reality or a higher reality, spiritual understanding that existed before, and then we've just been gradually falling down, like plunging down, becoming more and more materialist, so that we have like the barons running the world and controlling money, controlling oil, controlling power, that kind of thing. And we're trying to, anyone with a spiritual ilk is trying to hang in there through it. And I think, over the years, I think astrology probably, became sort of like, involved with black arts, and I don't like that stuff,
Yeah.
It's like, to me, it's like self-understanding. It's like Carl Jung, process of individuation, casting light into the darkness, and it's for peace and love, compassion, creating a world where there's happiness. Not for manipulation or control. That's exactly what you don't want. So I think during the Middle Ages, astrology, and that's something I've been, I like reading up on. But there was, I think during the Roman times and then Middle Ages as well too, the astrology, was probably used for dark things, dark purposes, and it's no wonder in a way it got suppressed,
right,
in a lot of ways. And I think then it had a renaissance in the 20th century, in the maybe in the Age of Enlightenment it was coming up as well too. There was Marsilio Ficino in Italy was talking about astrology in terms of understanding ourselves. But they tried. I think he had to be careful because they could burn him at the stake for talking like that. But it's in the 1930s or so. Actually, the Renaissance, I think, it looks like it started in the UK. There were sort of people looking for greater enlightenment, and they started, astrologers started to come out of the woodwork again too. So astrology today, I look at it in terms of it's like a psychology. It's like understanding what makes us tick, and using it as a process of individuation, like Carl Jung said, cast darkness and cast light into the darkness so we can understand ourselves. Like Sigmund Freud, is the one who introduced the idea of the unconscious, and we're sort of instinctual desires that we have. There's like unruly animal within all of us that's not rational and can create great disturbances and violence and that kind of thing. And and I think that's really true. But psychology and I think astrology is trying to cast light on that darkness within us and try to connect with the divine, so we can find fulfillment and spiritual understanding, and so we can sort of reach kind of that utopian nirvana, wherever that is. It's not here. We have to figure out where that is.
Right.
How to get there.
Well, you know what, Phil, can we expand on that just a little bit
Sure.
more? How has the actual practice of astrology changed, or has it changed in any way as we progress as a society and spiritually?
How has the study of astrology changed?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's I guess the difference now is like back in let's say Middle Ages and for the centuries following that, is that things were regarded as being sort of good and evil. And for instance, like planets like Mars were regarded as sort of negative planets, like a negative planet, and it was evil, and it was like predestined. Things were like fixed, and fate was fixed, and you couldn't escape it. There was no way out. But in this day and age where we live now, we have like the idea of self-help, self-awareness, psychological understanding. So you're using astrology as a tool to get out of the hole. It's like if you've got a problem in your life, you're trying to figure out, what is it about me? We're starting to understand more that whatever we do, we attract. So, it was a few years ago, I suddenly realized, whatever challenge I have, and I think if it's a relationship that breaks down, or if it's a business that hits a wall or something like that, you can't sort of say, well, it's that rat's fault, if that bank manager, blah, 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 blah. If my ex-wife or husband or whatever didn't do this, or, what I realized is that we created everything. We're the producer, the director, we're the Shakespeare, we're the one that casts everybody. So if we got a villain in our life that's giving us a hard time, we have to look within and we have to say, why is that villain there? And I put them there. I've hired them, and I've, they're the actor, and I'm the director and the producer, and I've put them in there. And what do I have to do to get rid of them? So what do I have to change? So you look at yourself, and then you say, well, there's something about me that I'm not asserting myself here, or I'm lacking confidence in this area. And then as soon as you come to the realization, that's what I'm doing, all of a sudden you find a way of solving that problem. That person, you know how to deal with them, and you can either get them out of your life, or you can get a new agreement with them so you get along better. And I think that's the way, one of the ways it's changed over the centuries is that we have more control over our destiny. But, we have a huge unconscious, like we're just the tip of the iceberg. So unconsciously, we're creating our future. So the idea is to look into our unconscious. Again, going back to Carl Jung and the process of individuation, casting light in the darkness, and then trying to find and looking for the way of fixing our world. And I think that's the way I sort of see the change in astrology. And I also think, too, it's not, you don't want it to be too pedantic. You don't want it to be too sort of cerebral or boring. You got to have excitement. Like there's some, good astrologers write, good stuff in that. But, when something, there's a difficult alignment or something coming up, they'll say it's going to be a difficult year and it's going to be, it's a big cloud and doom, sort of a doom kind of feeling to it. And they think, that's not good because, okay, sure, there's a challenge, but you got to have the energy to respond to it, like we're saying. People can respond to things differently. So if there's something difficult coming up, you got to say, yeah, there's a challenge there, but I'll tell you what, there's a way to deal with it, a way to win the day and get through. So you always have to look at it, in a positive sense. And you sit down at a table and you think, I'm gonna get the solution here. And there's always the feeling you're never alone because you always have these, they're energies. Call them gods or whatever you want. They're energies, and it's like, like with, let's say the blues. Like I remember way back, like it was in the 70s, and I was in Copenhagen, and I had I was going out with a girl, and then it broke up, and I felt really bad. I felt really kind of down. And then I don't know if you guys know Champion Jack Dupré. He used to be like a blues man from Louisiana, I think.
Yes,
but anyway,
I
do you? You kidding
Yes.
me?
I love the
not
blues.
Many people know.
I'm from Chicago. I love the blues.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So you've heard of Champion Jack Dupré, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and he was like, back in the 70s. I used to, I was like, not many people knew about him. I used to have his records in that. And so I'm in Copenhagen, walking down the street, feeling really down, kind of really sort of depressed, thinking, feeling sorry for myself. I walk by this pub, and it says, for tonight, one night only, Champion Jack Dupré. I couldn't believe it. And I went in there, and there he was. There he was, the legend. And there was a piano, and I could sit right there, and there weren't many people in there. I thought, I can't believe this. Like, it's not a concert, or it's just a pub, and he's playing it. I got him right in front. And then I met a girl there, a Danish girl, and she was down because she was having a problem with her boyfriend. So we kind of connected and talked about, her problems a little bit and all that. So it's kind of a mutual understanding, of what was going on. And, and that's all. I never saw her again after that. It was just a real close contact. But what I realized what was the magic there was when he played the blues, like he had power. Like his hands came down. It was just him and the piano, and he was singing. And this crazy woman who kept pestering him. I don't know if it was set up, but boy, it was funny. But what I realized was he made me feel good. What I realized the blues is like you don't sit there and just grizzle over your pain. What it is, you release it. And he had me laughing. And he had the whole place laughing the way he did it, the way he was really, playing the blues. And, he came at the half-time break there. He came and sat down, and, he just made my day. Shook hands with them and everything. And what I realized, what it was tapping into an energy. And it's the energy, that the blacks had, with the blues, sort of the suffering they had been through, in their own evolution, slave trade and all of that. Is that their way they could tap into it. It's like gospel singing and that kind of thing. They tap into an energy. So a lot of that, you can find it astrologically. It could be something like with Jupiter, Zeus, Zeus is the ancient god, Jupiter. But there's areas there where you get that kind of positive feeling. What they're tapping into, they may not be calling it Zeus or Jupiter or something from astrology, but they're tapping into some energy. And you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It could be something that's an Egyptian god or whatever. But the power is there, the energy is there, and that's what they tap into. I mean, I saw it the other day with Oprah Winfrey. There was an interview of her, and I just saw part of it. But the one part there, I realized, what she does is taps. She's able to tap into that energy, and that's what inspires people. That's why I think why she's so popular, because people hear her speaking, and they get encouraged. They get kind of excitement, and that's where leaders like that are really good. I think Richard Branson's and Oprah Winfrey and people like that. So it's like you tap into that energy that brings something positive.
Well, you know what? As always, I know there's skeptics out there, and
sure.
they're saying, well, I can just go to the paper and read my horoscope from there. Why do I need to see an astrologer? So what do you say to people who have some kind of preconceived notion about what the signs mean and the universe?
Well, I don't talk to them, really. I don't. I don't ram it down anybody's throat. I got friends who are into the sciences, and I know people are in the sciences, and some of them are really fascinated by astrology. So they can be doing I've got a buddy who's doing a PhD in sciences and that, and he's not sort of sitting around studying astrology, but he's got in his chart, when you know your time of birth, he's got something up in the ninth house. Ninth house is kind of like Mount Olympus belief system. And he's got that spark in him that sort of thinks, oh, yeah, coincidences, synchronicity. Oh, yeah, what happens when you get this cycle or that? He's willing to look at the correlation between planetary cycles and our human experience. He's willing to accept that there could be a link, even if you can't prove it. And he's a scientific mind, and he's still doing that. And I think that's great. But a lot of people, with the scientific mind, don't see that correlation. They just see things in the material sense. Like if you can't see it, touch it, feel it, smell it, it doesn't exist. Because it's invisible. It's invisible. It's like the unconscious. How do you prove the unconscious? You can't prove it. Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, did all that research into it. But, how do you prove it? You find kind of the effects of it. You can you realize that people respond. They did word associations, and certain words would cause stress or anxiety in people, and you can kind of predict how people would respond, and then you work at kind of trying to get them to understand what they don't know about themselves, and the unconscious is kind of proven by, but it's invisible, isn't it? You can't see it. It's not concrete. And it's the same with astrology. It's invisible. So the thing with one of the problems with the sciences is that it's only looking at something that's tangible. So, if I've got someone, some people are really hostile. You can talk to them, mention astrology, and they just look at you like you're a complete idiot. So, so I don't ram it down anybody's throat. I like baseball. If they like baseball, I'll talk to them about baseball. I mean, to me, or hockey or any sport, the thing is, you want to make good contact and be friends. And I think that's the most essential thing. And if they can't accept the idea of astrology, that's cool. I'm not going to ram it down the throat. I'm not an evangelical. I'm not proselytizing. They don't want to listen to it. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about the Jays and the Red Sox or something.
Right.
Something like that. Just keep it on a common ground. So if people don't like it, if they get aggressive, sometimes when you get someone in the sciences, or sometimes if they're really sort of religious or something, they can be kind of aggressive. But I don't run into that very often, and hopefully I don't have to. But I don't like, it's just kind of unpleasant, And if they really want to know, if they're interested and they want to know more about it, then I'm very happy to talk about it. But if they don't, I certainly don't push it down their throat. And some people I've talked to that don't accept it. Their response will say, well, I think, these things just happen, and with astrology, you're just kind of reading too much into it, and you can't get anywhere when you're talking to them, because they will not perceive the invisible, the intangible, the ineffable. They can't sense it. Like I said, they work with the material. And I don't mean to sound condescending, you know. I don't
No,
mean
not
it
at
from
all.
a condescending point of view. So when I hear that, when they say that, I say, okay, so how are the Jays doing, you know? How's baseball doing? How are the Red Sox? How are the Yankees doing, you know, the Mets? And just leave it. Just get out of it, because I don't want to go around in circles. You can't prove it. There's no point getting into a debate. You can't debate it. Either you like it or you don't. And if you like it, let's talk about it. If you don't, just leave it. So I just leave it like that. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm so interested in this topic, and you know, I've listened to other radio shows or even programs on television whenever things like of this nature come up, and what also interests me, not just the aspect of astrology and everything that goes along with it, but I like the shows like on the Science Channel. How do they do that? How it's made? You know, I always like to find out what goes on in the mind and how does the process work. So, I mean, without getting into great detail, what goes into actually doing an astrological chart for someone? Is it half math, half spiritual, half thought, half intuition? What goes into the actual process of astrology?
When you're looking at someone's chart?
Yeah,
I guess it depends. I mean, some people, you know, like are psychic or clairvoyant, so they hear voices or they see things, you know, and that's cool. You know, that, I mean, I know psychics, and I met lots of psychics, and some, you know, have certain abilities that are really good, and that's good. And, you know, maybe some of them can use it for, you know, use astrology to connect with it, I suppose. That's one way. The way I do it, I don't sort of work psychically. I sort of work intuitively. But I just find that when I'm looking at somebody's chart, I start getting ideas when I'm looking at it, and I get a feeling like almost like something invisible is guiding me. And so what I get into, I can sort of connect with certain things. So it's like, I sort of call it intuitive, and certain things will come up. Like, you know, maybe I'll notice something in the chart, maybe it's Saturn where it is on there, and it'll come up, and there's no accident that I kind of picked on Saturn, because it's jumped out at me, and it's almost like I'm the tool for something else that's watching. You know, it's like I don't know if I'm on the right track. Is that sort of answering your question, what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, basically, like when you're sitting down, either if it's in front of someone or over Skype, or if you do it over the phone.
Sure.
Prior to that, I mean, I don't know how far in advance do you do the chart for someone.
Yeah.
Sort of when you sit down to go and actually read someone's chart, is it you're looking at guides that you've created, or is it mathematical equations that you're putting together? I'm kind of just interested in sort of that behind-the-scenes kind of look.
Well, I mean, I'll look at, you know, I'll look at, see, the three major things in a chart: sun, rising sign, moon. So, you know, the sun's sort of that golden path, and you see what sign it's in. So, you know, it's you're a Leo, right, Anthony?
Yes.
So yeah, so you know, and your sun's in the 12th house, for example. 12th house is a spiritual house. It's like, because we know your time of birth, right? If you don't mind me just mentioning a couple things, I won't get too personal or anything. Don't worry.
No,
but,
I don't mind you revealing anything.
Okay, sure. Okay, and so we got the sun in the 12th for you. 12th house is like the area around the Earth is divided into 12 sections. So it's like a pie or a roulette table. It's round. So imagine it's called, and there are different sizes depending on the system. But 12th house is like over, if you look at it and you look at, let's say, 9 o'clock, it's between 9 and 10 on the left-hand side. And anyway, that's the Pisces area. Well, you're a Leo, and Leos, you know, lots of energy. They're vibrant personality, you know, with Leo. But yours is in the 12th house, so it's kind of muted. It's more, it's very spiritually minded. So it's like, you know, you wouldn't be. I don't think you'd be quite as extrovert as a Leo, as most Leos. I think you'd be sensitive to other people's feelings and needs. So, you know, you may have had a spiritual side. Maybe there's been a religious background somewhere in some way from your parents, maybe in the past somewhere. Maybe even from your dad's side, because sons are often linked to the father. And the ruler there of the 12th is Leo. So you'd have a really profound interest in psychology. Like psychology, maybe you've even studied psychology.
I did.
Did you? Yeah.
Yes, I did in college.
Oh, did you? I mean, you have a big interest in psychology, and let's see, and the son, so son's linked to the father. So you get information a bit about your dad too there as well. I mean, did your dad maybe did he leave when you were young or anything like that? Was he always around, or was there kind of sense of an
No, he's actually more he's more prominent now. Well, for maybe the last 15 or so years, more prominent in my life than my mother.
Oh, okay. And to start with, was he kind of away, or you missed him or something? Was he busy working or something like that?
Yeah.
Because you got Neptune. See, I'll look at the bottom of the chart. See the home area. That's where the father's area. There is Neptune, and you got Jupiter's down there. So there's it looks like there's quite a spiritual connection to him in some way. But maybe in his past there was something as well too. But a lot of that could be linked to your mom too, because sometimes they overlap. And your rising sign's Virgo. That's very important. So Virgo rising sign is industrious. They like to work. They're busy. They're humble. So you strike me, looking at your chart here, as kind of a humble Leo. Not kind of the kind that goes on center stage. You probably
do you hear Lucy laughing when you say humble?
Lucy probably says you're the most arrogant guy I've ever known in my life. And here I am saying
I'm
you're
not
humble.
saying a word. I'm listening and taking notes.
Taking notes, yeah. And then the other thing too is you got Mars there right on the ascendant. Mars is like a real go-getter. It's Aries. So, but it is in Virgo as well, which is again sort of muted. And you've got like a 90-degree angle to Neptune. So there's something undermining your personality. So it's almost like when you were born. Did you have nightmares as a kid at all?
Yes.
Yeah. Sleepwalking, anything like that?
Not sleepwalking, but nightmares.
Nightmares, yeah.
I still do.
Yeah, there's a tortured area there. And some people have nightmares. Like I know lots of people. They have a dream it becomes a nightmare. And you think, oh, how can you get out of it? But you've got this thing where you're, it brings up 8 houses. Right? There's 3 water houses. Number 4, number 8, number 12. It's Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Scorpio house 8 is like Hades. It's the underworld, and it's really scary. It's all the demons and monsters. And you got a lot of stuff going on in there, like maybe from a past life or whatever. But there's stuff as a kid. There would have been stuff that probably caused a lot of fear of darkness, maybe something like that when you're a kid. But it would bring up nightmares. But it would give you a real sensitivity. I mean, I would have thought you've got sort of a psychic ability. You must be able to pick up. You might. Do you have visions or? If you hear voices, you don't have to tell us.
No, I do, and I don't.
Voices, do you?
No, not voices. No, I do have visions, and I try to. I've been sort of denying it, and because I don't know how to deal with it, and so. But recently, I've sort of been talking to Lucy about it, and every time that I do have this vision, I would mention it to her, and so sometimes it has actually come true within the news or within my own life, and so
Interesting.
It's kind of more accepting now.
Yeah. Yeah, you start to accept it, and you're not kind of so afraid, because sometimes it'd be pretty scary. Because I bet do you get chills? Like you sort of feel like you get a sort of chills up your spine or in your, at a certain time. Do you get that?
Yes, that's exactly what I get.
That's usually a sign that there's a spirit nearby, or you're really connecting with something, or something's guiding you. And your moon's in Taurus. So the moon in Taurus, is sensual, likes physical contact, or kind of tactile. And there would be a close link. There's something to do with, moon is like a mother symbol too. It's close to the mother. But it's up in the 9th house, we're talking about. That's Mount Olympus. That's where Zeus is. And it's up there. So you'd have, I'm sure you'd have an interest in foreign cultures. How are you with languages? Because you can get languages with that too. Do you pick up, are you interested in languages, or are you good with them?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked for most of my life in various different positions and companies, and I've been around a lot of diverse people, and so I picked it up a lot, and it sort of interests me. And I like history. I like learning about cultures.
That history, cultures, history's up there. ninth house. History is very strong. Like I was saying, the friend of mine who's a scientist, PhD, and all that jazz. He's got the sun up there. He loves history, the past. Legal stuff comes up too. Maybe you wanted to be a lawyer one time, or you're associated. You know friends that are lawyers, or
I wanted to be a paralegal when I was younger.
Were you? There you go.
I did say that. Yes.
See what comes. It's unbelievable. What's in there? It's like an archaeological dig. You start scratching away, and it's so weird because all it is a chart. You're looking at ninth house, and it has to do with it's Jupiter. It's Sagittarius there. It's Zeus. That has to do with law. It's like almost the courts. You might have a fascination maybe with the courtrooms and debates. That kind of thing. Yes. History. Yeah.
Lucy knows I like to debate. Yes.
You too like to debate, huh? Yeah. And the your rising sign Virgo, ruled by Mercury, that rules your career. So no wonder you're good. You're good with radio and communication, because that's up in the career where you gain your security. Working in the world, what the world sees of you. It's Mercury, and that's connected to your mom in some way. So is your mom somebody that did communications, or worked with people, or worked on a till, or worked with accounting or money or anything like that?
No, she worked in real estate for a short period of time.
Oh, real estate. Okay. So she was good with did she work with selling, talking to people?
Yes, she showed houses and sold and bought. Yeah.
Yeah, because normally when you get Gemini there, it's if it's a father's area, very often, because of the way we're educated in that, and their cultures and generations and that, it's very often can be engineering or travel or truck driving or anything like that. And when the mom's area, very often it can be anything to do with talking, meeting people, being in the marketplace. It's called Gemini. So for her, it was real estate. So there's going to be some link down to the fourth house. It looks to me. Was your mom kind of the main person? Was was he absent, or was it your mom who kind of ran the whole show when you were growing up?
Yes, my mom ran the entire show. My father was around. It was just that he was he worked in telecommunications, so he was constantly working night and day a lot of times, sometimes even on weekends. And then when he wasn't working for money, he was working on the house because we had bought an old house when we were younger, and he was constantly fixing it up. So he was always busy.
Oh, right. Yeah, and there's some kind of pain in the house in your thing. Maybe you missed your dad. Maybe there was some way you weren't able to connect for some reason. It could be that he was too busy, or maybe there were too many. I don't know if you had a lot of siblings or anything, but there's just some kind of bit of a loneliness in the home environment. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
There's something going on there, kind of in the home environment. And then the ruler down there of Jupiter, the dad. I mean, was your and it's in Pisces. Was your dad was he did he have a bright personality, or was he kind of maybe follow the rules or something, strict, or was he kind of out there wild?
He was quiet, but when there were issues or when anything went wrong in the house, you heard him. That was his sort of personality. That's when he would come out. Right.
So he could be stormy or whatever.
Right. Right.
And then in relationships too, you'd have let's see, what do we? Oh, you got Neptune. So you've got a real again a very great sensitivity there. So like in relationships and that, you probably find it difficult to break them up, right? When you're in a relationship, like you kind of sensitive to the person and you want to hurt their feelings, and sometimes you let it drag on too long.
Yes.
It's and somebody will say, "Well, for goodness sake, Anthony, just end it." Did they call you Tony or Anthony, your friend? Anthony?
Tony, mostly.
Tony, right. So can I call you Tony?
Absolutely.
Okay. So then it's like, you're, people probably say, Tony, for goodness sake, you got to end it, right? You got to face facts. This is not going to work. You can't. You're being kind for too long. You got to bring down the axe and end it. And you just don't want to hurt feelings. There's that thing there, the area of relationships where you got Pisces in there. So, that's just kind of and a couple of, you may have gone through sort of a crisis, maybe in a relationship even, I don't know, it looks like maybe 2 years ago, a couple of years ago, something like that. Could have
Yeah, it was about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, there's something like 2011 going on here. It's the outside world. Maybe June 2012, even last year. But it's one area where there was some difficulty there. But when you look at Jupiter to see actually you got like a real good alignment right now, Jupiter to Mars. Oh, something really boosting your personality at the moment, your presence. So you may be getting accolades or and sort of a feeling that you're gaining confidence in your own personality. And whenever you get Zeus forming a good angle, like when Zeus starts doing good things, Jupiter, it's a bit like you got a ship and the wind comes in and the sails billow out with the power and off you go. So there's something quite good going on here in the area of your identity, who you are, and your personality, and it's giving you courage. And also, it's a time of meeting more people, socializing more, and getting out into the marketplace more. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but those are all things. So if I'm with the client and we're going into this, I would say looking more closely at that, and following it up. Yeah, so you got some good stuff there.
That was great. I mean, you were spot on.
Oh, interesting. That's good. That's
spot
good.
on with a lot of it. And I know we've got a lot of callers in queue right now, and thank you for holding on there. We will get to a few of the callers to get some charts done. But I wanted to ask you one more question, Phil.
Sure.
And I think that, Lucy, this is actually one of the questions that you had posed, and I'm actually reading it. But can astrology predict itself? I mean, what I mean is can it tell us what will happen to the universe or to the planets, or is it more an interaction with us, with the spirit?
Yeah, it's interpretation as well too, and picking up on what's going on there. There's a huge astrological alignment going on now, Uranus and Pluto.
Right, I heard about that.
Yeah, so I talk about it on my thoughts of the day and a lot. And there was other things too. Saturn was involved, but and the last time it was this severe was the Second World War. It was 30s, the Great Depression. It kicked in like 1929 was the start of the Depression, and it went right through the 30s, and it didn't end until the Second World War came in 1939 and blew everything up. And so people, the corporations and industry started kicking off and making money. But that Great Depression, and it was Uranus and Pluto were hard angles back then, and it hit in a very severe way. What happened in 2008? That big crash in September 15, 2008. That sort of kicked off that similar thing. But with what they know now, and economically, they just keep feeding money into the system, printing money, and you can keep things going. But a lot of people are very afraid that it's not going to, this is just a Band-Aid, and there's a bigger crash coming. So, you can debate all of that. But you can look at the Uranus-Pluto, and then you start thinking, there's a parallel. And then there was a similar thing back in the 60s, like it's a cycle, where it's like, let's say it was like 11:45 back in the 30s. So you got Uranus at, let's say 9, or something like that. Let's say it's 11:45. And then at 12 o'clock, that was the start of the new cycle, and that was in the 60s. So you got the 60s revolution happening, and that was Uranus-Pluto. Pluto's like instinctual, it's deep, it's like right from the unconscious, like a volcano blowing up. It's titanic in proportion. Uranus is like sudden change, it's rebellion, revolution, that kind of spirit. Whenever you see Michael Moore on TV, usually Uranus has got some kind of an angle going on that. He's kind of like the radical revolutionary. Or the WikiLeaks guy, Julian Assange, or what's going on now with that what's his name, Edward Snowden.
Yes.
What's his first name?
Edward Snowden.
Yeah, Edward Snowden. Yeah, that's right. That represents the kind of the revolutionary thing. And I'm not taking sides or anything. I'm just sort of analyzing. And then you get Pluto. Is repression, so it can be surveillance. So you get these, and Uranus exposes things. So, now you get like things are being exposed, like the surveillance that's being done. But there's like seven huge contacts with Uranus and Pluto going on right until we're on the third or fourth now, and they're going on to 2015. So that's I can go on for hours about that. I do that in the seminars and bring it up. But that's a huge thing that's going on right now. And how where is it all going? Where's it going to go? The Arab Spring, the big changes happening in the Middle East and everything, and you watch this building up. We're heading, worldwide. There's crisis building up like this October. There could be a lot of, political upheaval will continue. But I don't want to keep going on in the negative. Those are all dire, difficult things. In our own personal life, we can take these real hard angles and turn them into something positive, because we can transmute that energy into something positive. So, and right at this moment, Jupiter's moved into that battle zone between Uranus and Pluto, and it's sort of intensifying things, over the next couple of weeks. I mean, I haven't really had a chance to look at the news today, but there's just constant. I mean, there's all sorts of things coming up, that are very intense, and all the weird accidents, with planes and all the snakes. All these things going on with snakes as well too. It's like interesting, but you can look at these, and then you work on interpreting it. What does it mean? What's it bringing? Back when a lot of this has to do with earthquakes. When you had the big one in Japan in March 2011, and then you get Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet. He was a great, the big American, the clairvoyant from the South down in Virginia. He had said that Japan would largely sink under the sea, and then you get that big earthquake. You start connecting things like that, and watching what happens. So, sure, you can look at the planets, and you can try to, you can get an idea of what's coming, in the future worldwide. But as I said, I don't like focusing too much on the negative. But what's going on in the world is pretty dire, isn't it? I mean, it's like serious stuff. But we just got to keep keep our minds focused on a happy outcome, and in our own lives, keep our thoughts on things being good, being happy, because the more whatever you rest your thoughts on, it's like you're watering a garden. If you keep your thoughts on positive development, then it's like watering the roses in your garden. But if you sort of think, oh, this horrible thing's going to happen in my life, you're watering the weeds. So you just keep watering the flowers, keep it going. So when I write the thoughts of the day, I'm sort of, I try not to get into all the negative stuff too much, We got to feel good. It's important to feel good.
You mentioned it. Right. You mentioned it earlier that, we should see it as a challenge, and,
right.
Anything that's sort of a bad news, see it as a challenge and have a positive thought to make that change.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got the challenge, and then you can beat it. When you get into fear mode, you can sort of back up into a corner, and you feel as if you're cornered. There's no way you can get out, and they're going to bulldoze your little shack down, that kind of thing. And you get really scared, and you got to think, no, there's a solution. There's a way to get out of this. And like Odysseus, when he had in the Odyssey, when he had a big challenge, he had to get his men had been turned into pigs by a witch, and she had a magic wand. We're talking 800 BC. They used to run around with wands back in those days. His men were turned into pigs. He knew he had to go there and get them out, and he marched out with the sword, and he was going to get them. He didn't know how he was going to do it, but he was going to get them, because it's like the gods, like you said, Homer said, the gods like those of bold of heart, and he was bold, and he went in there. And on the way there, a young man crosses his path, who was Hermes, he was channeling Hermes. Hermes said, when you go see the witch, this is what you got to do. You do 1, 2, 3, 4, these steps. Here's a herb. He plucked a herb out of the ground. Eat this, that'll protect you. And he goes. And what the story is saying is that, when you're bold of heart, a solution comes. So the energy of Hermes will appear. So if it's like, if someone's got a challenge, like, the TV show's not doing well, or there's a challenge at work, instead of feeling like, oh no, disaster, everything's going to go wrong, that kind of thing, it's like, no, I'm going to fix this thing, and I know how to fix it. And the sword isn't necessarily violence. When he grabs the sword is a symbol of cutting through problems. It's like thinking. Sword is more thought. So it's like getting a strategy. It's linked to Hermes. It's not meant to be like violent. He wasn't going there kind of to kill her, and he didn't. He got his way out, peacefully, but he outsmarted her because he got the solution. Hermes crossed his path. So it's like you work on getting the solution, to get there. So when you're bold and you don't sink into fear, then the idea you get inspired by some idea, and Homer showed it, as Hermes. Hermes is the one. So you just look at the story and then kind of realize what the energy is involved, and you get a fascinating result looking at that. But by the way, how long are we going to be on? I mean, we can go on. That's all right. Are we going to look at other people's charts too, or?
I was just going to bring that up because the listeners have been jamming the lines. So if you don't mind, could we do some readings?
Sure. Yeah. We'll just have a little quick look.
Yes.
How long should we spend? Just a few minutes on each one, or are there very many?
Yeah, we have a lot of callers. So if we just do a brief,
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So what information do you need them to have ready when they talk to you?
Date, time, and place of birth.
Okay.
And the time is exact as you can have it. Nice thing with U.S. birth certificates is they usually have the time of birth on the birth certificate. Not always, but the time's usually on.
Okay.
So, with American politicians, you can always know, like with Barack Obama or Mitt Romney or anybody, the time of birth is always, on the birth certificate when it's given out.
Okie dokie. So let's go to the phones. Let's go to area code 780. And hello, you're on the air with Phil, Anthony, and Lucy. Who is this?
Connie.
Hi, Connie.
Hi, Connie.
Hi. I must say that, Phil, you were bang on with Anthony.
Oh, nice. That's good. Do you know
Connie knows me very well.
Oh, is that right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Did you listen to his show, or did you actually know him personally?
No, I listened to the show.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Well, thanks for the feedback. That's good. It's like an archaeological dig. A lot of this stuff, I sort of pick up on certain things, might not be right, but you sort of steer me, and I sort of head in. It's like I said, it's an archaeological dig. And what you find. So, where are you? Where were you born, Connie? I mean, do you want me to? Yeah.
Okay, I was born in Collingwood, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I've got your. Are you still in Canada now? I mean, you don't have to say where you live. So you're in Canada, right? So.
Yeah. I'm in Edmonton, actually.
Okay, and then, but you're not. Can I say your year of birth and all that? You don't mind that being out?
Yeah.
So it's 6th of April, 76. 6th of April, 76. And then Collingwood. So that's in Ontario, right? Like around Lake Huron there, isn't it? And and you're born 3 a.m. roughly, or do you know what time?
I have no idea. I know it was very early.
Early in the morning,
3 and 6. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I'll be missing some information because, when you gave 3, because I got your thing as 3 a.m., it was just kind of like all you knew was early in the morning, so it could even be 1, I suppose, couldn't it, or something?
No, I know it was after 3.
Oh, it was after 3.
Yeah.
So could it have been as late as 4 or 5, or do you think it was around 3? Okay. So it could be, so your rising sign could be Aquarius. It just started at 3 a.m., or it could be Pisces. That would be a couple hours later. But if you ever, I won't dwell on the time too much. I'll point out some other stuff. But, if there's, you can always check with the hospital where you were born, give them a call, check them on the internet, and see if they're there. And then you might find they got your records, which would be great. Because a lot of, like in the bigger cities, I don't know about the U.S., but like Toronto, for example, hospitals are destroying records. They might only have them up until 1973 or something. Not all of them, but a lot of them are doing it. But Collingwood, they might have them there, so you can always check.
Yeah,
but you're an Aries, and so Aries, they're usually, out there, forceful. Sometimes they get on people's nerves, because they're kind of insistent. So if someone, wants to quit smoking, and they light up, I'm going to quit. And Aries will say, Quit! Don't smoke that cigarette. Put it out right now. No, I'm just going to have. Okay, I'm saying, tentatively, I'm going to quit smoking. No, quit right now. Put it out. Aries has a tendency to have they have that kind of reputation in there.
It's got to be done now.
It has to be done right now, and they tend to have like an impatient quality. They want to hurry things up, and then you use your mind you're very sharp with your mind, right? Like detail. You got Saturn square Mercury. So are you in the sciences, or is it more journalism, or what sort of thing? You like using your mind, like very penetrating insights, maybe critical, maybe it's self-critical too. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
with the sciences, yes, that would make sense because I am in love with disabled people, physically, mentally.
Right. So do you work with disabled people?
I used to.
Oh, okay. And let's see. So you got the Sun in Aries, your Moon. Oh, okay. Your Moon's Gemini, but if you're a little later, it would be Cancer. It's very close. So I'm wondering, I think maybe your Moon's in Cancer. It's like you've got sort of the carer quality, right? If you work with disabled people.
Yeah.
I got a feeling you were born a little later than 3, because then your Moon would be in Cancer. So it's like sort of a nurturing quality too. You might even like cooking. Very often Cancer's involved with food and cooking and that. Do you ever
I like to try.
You like to try? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound very promising, Connie. But
I like to try though.
It sounds like but no, you could have an ability that comes out later in life or whatever. And let's just have I'll just have a little look at where what planets are doing for you there now. Hang on. Just have to do a bit of clicking here. Before computers, you had to do this long hand. Boom there. Oops, try it again. Come on, click that one. Put you in there. Right. Okay, so we got let's see. So I'm looking at some that's not related too much to the time of birth. So you've got like could be some there's something good going on there. I'm sort of looking for the good stuff here too. Actually, there's maybe a shake-up. Now, when did that shake-up happen? Let's have a look here. It was more last year. So last year may have brought no accidents or anything like that. I hope nothing like that. No. But it's just kind of Uranus squaring Mars. It could have brought, might have affected relationships perhaps, or depending. Because we haven't got your time of birth, I'm not exactly sure where it was. Could have maybe even a financial thing came up, but there's was there a certain sudden change last year or something disruptive that happened? It would have been over the last few years, but maybe not last. It looks like last year was when it kind of hit the strongest. Was it a relationship that went through a shake-up? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're still together. Everything's fine now, but yes. You
sorted it out, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that that's would have been a problem then, and the nice thing is you came out of it. Uranus usually exposes something, so maybe something got exposed, like something that wasn't really out in the open or something, and it kind of came out, and you found out about it, or maybe it was something about you that was coming out. But then see now, let's see what's going on here. I'm just going to whiz it through here. See. Where you had that trouble last year, you got a lot of strength this year. So Jupiter's like forming a good angle to Mars, which is really motivating you, giving you lots of power, drive. And so you must be feeling, it could be even, if you're born later, it could be even your rising sign. Are you feeling kind of stronger? Your personality's out there conquering the world? Yeah.
Yeah.
And even just a few days ago, you may have had a bit of a rough ride. Maybe you're really tired, or it's like, especially around the 27th of July.
That's the exact date.
Is that right? Yeah. Was
that
was that a conflict, an argument, or was it fatigue?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was an argument.
Yeah, it was an argument. Yeah. So you hit something hard there, but it's just a temporary thing that's worn off. And then what do we got here? I'm looking at Neptune square and Venus square Neptune. August 2nd. Where are we today? We're on the 8th.
We're at the
today.
9th.
9th. On the 2nd, maybe you felt a little down, depressed. August 2, that would have been last week, wasn't it? Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, Friday. Just sort of, maybe a little feeling down there. And then where we are now, move it up a bit more here. What's it doing? Let's see. Kind of like there's more you want to do. See, Jupiter's forming squares here, so it's like there's a lot you want to do. So maybe there's maybe some excitement, but there might be career-wise, work-wise, or what you really want to do to fulfill yourself. There might be kind of like a sense that you want to do. Does that make sense? Like there's kind of a frustration. Maybe you got too many things to choose from, and you're not sure how to make up your mind or something. And,
well, I just started a job after 3 years, and I got offered to work for them full time, and so I think that's what that's leading to.
Right. Yeah, and you've got in November time. It looks something very good going on for you as well too. With you don't have to wait until November, but it'll be as you head towards November. It's a good angle to Venus, so it's like really. Do you want to? You don't. I mean, this could. Are you thinking about having kids or something like that?
Oh no. Oh no.
No. Eh?
My kids are 20 and 16. I'm
good. Right.
good.
So you've already done that. So.
Yeah, we have.
But they're not. How old are they?
20 and 16.
All right. Well, they're not going to have kids, are they? So it's not like they're not going to do that. But it could be something. When you have a good angle from Jupiter to Venus, that makes you feel really good, happy. And depending, with your time of birth, you could fine tune it. If it's around 3, I mean, you could even looks like it could even be something good financially, possibly happening to you, or something where you get sort of maybe recognition. If it's in a different area of your chart, it could be like getting recognition or getting some kind of accolade or things going really well for you. So that's so the prospect there looks good, I think, and you got to focus in on those good things. I don't see any real big bad ones or anything,
No.
Well, if I did see sort of difficult alignments, I kind of warn you, and then they won't be as so difficult. To be better. But there's there may be a big change in what you're thinking about your career, your work, where you're going over the next. It'll be a couple of years off where that happens. But if you can get your time of birth, then you can get more. We can get more detail for you as well too, on there.
For sure.
Yeah. So I hope that helps, Connie. You got a little bit there, but it's.
Well, you hit some things bang on, especially the date. That blew me away.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. That one there wasn't time sensitive. It doesn't matter what time you're born. I could see that pop up there. And, if you look, if I just find something positive here Venus-wise over the next, what is it here? Let's see, I'm just checking. Mercury is one that brings messages and ideas. There's kind of an upbeat quality to August 23, 24. Even August 20, about August 22, 23, there's something quite upbeat there. Maybe a little frustrating too. Venus is in there, so you might feel a little bit impatient there around 23, 24. I don't know if you got deadlines with work or something, but there's a kind of a nice spot there where you can get something good going on. Could be good ideas that come along where you get inspiration. You think, that's what I want to do. But always keep in mind, whatever it is, like you're never alone. The universe stands with you. And Hermes is one that gives the ideas, and always just think, there's always like an energy there that's going to give you ideas. If you want a solution, you just you'll find it. Ask for it, and it'll come to you.
Phil, if Connie wanted to get a full reading, how can she get hold of you?
Oh, she can email me, at phil@booststars.com, or go to my website, booststars.com. Just go to the website, and then my email's on there, and you just send me an email. And then we can take it from there.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
And Connie, if you can find, send me an email, and then we'll work it out. We'll see if we can get your time of birth and stuff like that. We'll check you.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll send you all the info. We can work it out.
Sounds
wonderful.
great. Thanks so much, Phil.
Oh, you bet, Connie. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Okay.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, let's see. We've got a lot of people that have been hanging on. Let's go to area code 646. Hi, you're on the air with Phil, Anthony, and Lucy. Who is this?
I think if you're asking for the 646 area code, it would be Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Anthony. Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
Hi, Amy.
How are you? Hi,
Okay,
Phil.
do you have your information for Phil?
I do.
Is it, are you 29th of Feb, 68?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I think I've got that here. And then, and you 12:20 p.m.
Correct.
Okay. And where were you born?
At St. Mary's Hospital in Saginaw, Michigan.
St. Mary's Hospital. And what's the place in Michigan again? What's the city?
Saginaw.
How do you spell that?
S as in Sam, A-G-I-N-A-W.
Saginaw. S-A-G-A-N-I-W?
Nope, I-N. Nope, S-A-G.
Yeah.
I-N.
Yep.
A-W.
Saginaw. Okay, I got it. So let's. I didn't have your place of birth, so let's put Saginaw there. Saginaw, and that's. Sorry, where was that? Illinois.
Michigan.
Oh, Michigan. Sorry. And got it. Okay, so that's there. We got it. Yeah, we need the date, time, and place of birth, and then you get the. What's it called? All the coordinates. You know where you are in the sky changes. You know if you're in Toronto, or if you're in New York or California, it's a different sky we're looking at. And okay, so I got it. So you're bang. Another Pisces. What's going on with all the Pisces energy tonight? So and we got your time of birth. Was that on your birth certificate?
Yes.
Okay. So that's good. U.S. Birth certificates, right? Have the time on, which is fantastic. So you're a Pisces. Your rising sign's Gemini, right at the end of Gemini, near the end of Gemini, and your moon is in Pisces again. So that Gemini is interesting. It's about 28, 29. So it's near kind of the galactic center. Galactic center is like 27 degrees Sagittarius, and it's actually links up with Gemini there quite closely. So, you know, maybe have you always had sort of an interest in astrology or meaning of life or philosophy, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're a Pisces. You got a Capricorn quality because you're Pisces. We know your time of birth. So it's in the 10th house. And, you know, Pisces are spiritually minded, but you've got a practical side too. You know, you're, you know, having to work out sort of practical issues. I bet you're pretty good, right? Aren't you on that? Like kind of an authority in whatever you do. And you don't think so?
No, I definitely. I think I research enough to make sure that I'm authority. You know, at what I'm doing. I want to be taken seriously.
Yeah, that's right. You're just describing Capricorn there. It's ruled by Saturn. Saturn is like gravitas. You know, knowing what you're doing, being practical, covering all the bases, having Plan B ready, that kind of thing. You know, Pisces on its own is very, you know, is a spiritually minded sign. So on its own, it, you know, won't necessarily worry about practical issues. But because it's in the 10th house, which is Capricorn's house, is that you're born in, you know, Capricorn's domain. It gives you a real practical side. And you've got a moon's in Pisces as well too. And it looks like you're a pretty independent person too, eh? You don't like to be kind of told what to do. You like to be your own boss.
Absolutely.
Gemini rising, ruled by Mercury. You're good at reading, research. You mentioned the research, didn't you? But you know, Gemini rising, they're good at reading, absorbing information. They can be good at writing. They can be good at administration as well too. And do you do any talking, lectures, or anything like that, or presentations?
I mean, I would say I do presentations, but I don't really do any lectures.
Oh, okay. Because you got Jupiter in the 3rd, so it's like you'd have definitely have an ability at talking. I would have thought presenting, sometimes it can be, it could even be broadcasting or something like that. Because you got Leo on the cusp there. So are you involved in history or anything like that, or administration, or is it research, or what sort of work do you do?
Interior design.
Oh, interior design. So you're in the arts. So do you deal with the public with that, like presenting it or discussing it, or? I'm just working out the third house area here. Because the art. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say I'm probably more corporate internal now. In the past, it was probably a little bit more public, but. Right.
Yeah, because the area of art is the fifth house, and you got Libra there. So there's, that's where the arts comes through in the fifth house with the Libra. And, and then you look at where the ruler of Libra is Venus, and you look at where Venus is, and it's in Aquarius. So it's like, you got a sociable side. It would be good for talking to people or networking. And it's in the ninth, so there's kind of like a sense of humor there, up there. Sometimes, do you get it in this area of law? I don't know if you're involved with legal things at all, or ever been interested in law, or if that comes into the work at all, kind of the legal side, that's a possibility, or travel, zeal for languages, travel, anything like that. Those are all possibilities in there. And and so let's see. So you're in design. So do you actually do the design yourself, or do you work with a company that does design?
Yes, I work with a company that does design. I work with a team, so we all are creative-minded. And
okay. Well, so there's the team. That's Aquarius. So the ruler of the creative area there, the fifth house, is a Venus, and it's a Venus in Aquarius. And Aquarius is like kind of the marketplace, sociable, talking, maybe even teaching, that kind of thing. And does your work involve travel at all?
Yep.
It does. Yeah, because
you
can. Can travel. Travel can be in there, and I would say you're very organized. Again, the ruler of Capricorn, Saturn, linked to Mars, is it's a real kind of organized way of presenting things, talking about things, and probably you must have a sort of a philanthropic streak, don't you? Altruism. I don't know if that comes in with the work at all, but that's the area there. Like it makes me think. There's a philanthropic. Ever done work with charities or anything like that?
All the time.
All the time? Yeah, that's where that's coming from. And also interesting things. See, it's interesting. You got Jupiter down at the bottom. That's the communication, or it could be the father's area. But there's something interesting going on down there. Was your father was he sort of missing when you were a kid, or not around, or was your mom kind of the main influence, or were they? I'm just trying to work this out here, because it's like Jupiter down there is close to the father's area, so it could be linked to him. But when I see it squared to Neptune, it's almost like maybe in your early years you missed him, perhaps, or something. Does that make any sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
no, my dad was always working.
Right.
And I think that there was always that yearning or desire to always have his approval and his recognition.
Right.
And to make him proud.
Right. That totally makes sense, because that area of recognition and approval is up at the top of the chart, MC, and you got Pisces up there, and the sun's up there too. So yeah, so it's like all pointing up to that area. Very interesting. Have you been able to get that approval? Have you sort of connected with them?
Yes.
In that way? Okay. Because so you got a lot of interesting things there. Like in a reading, we'd sort of look at that more and dig up some more information there. And then when we look at where things are going for you, let's see, we got, over the last 2 days, have you been kind of a bit hassled or busy?
Yeah.
Mars is squaring a few things there, so maybe, I don't know. Sometimes they can produce like kind of arguments or something, but it's like being very impatient, trying to almost push something through. And you had a hard angle. Mars hit a tough spot there back on 27th of July, around there. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Let me fix this up here. Let's see. Got to do a couple of clicks here to get it right. Right. Where did it go? Okay, there we go. Got to do another click. Change that one. Okay, I think we got it now. Right. Okay, here we go. Right. So this is. This is. So you got a very big opportunity at the moment, actually, and your personality. You must be feeling like almost getting a wake-up call. Like you really started to kick in like June. Your personality is getting a big boost, like who you are, and work with this work should be going good. Have you had a promotion or something like that, or getting more recognition? How's that going?
It's going well.
Yeah, because you got when Jupiter forms a good angle to the Sun, like it is now. There's August 10th. You got something brewing here that's really good. Whereas, let's see, June last year. So last year it was a bit difficult, I think, in the middle of the year. They would have had some challenges there. But where you are now, it's like things are really opening up for you, and it looks like it's going to lead to money as well too, in the not too distant future. But if you haven't got a promotion yet, or things are going well that way, there's something going. Opportunity showing up really strongly for you right now. And if we take it ahead a couple of days here, even the 10th. Where are we today? Yeah, 9th today, right? 10, 11 is over the weekend. So, and it's we're into the new moon cycle. So, and it's a good. Oh no, it's something really good as far as it could be money. It'll bring you money. I don't know if your income might be increasing, and it's also rules Leo. Leo's the third house. Maybe, I don't know, there might be travel involved, or it could be presenting things or working with the team. You're with the team, aren't you, where you're working? But you've got a very high-profile thing going on here, whereas you get recognition as well, too. And, maybe it's a good contact from your dad as well, too, because dad could be involved here, maybe getting recognition from him as well, too. But have you had a promotion lately at all?
It was last year.
Oh, you got it last year, but there's something more now, though. It's very strong at the moment. So it could be maybe the promotion you got last year is going to be you'll get kind of like a big boost to it this year. Something really good going on right at the moment. But it's cooking up really strongly there for you now, and financial stuff's coming up there, money-wise, and you get into the good money area in October, November. So it looks like over the winter. Financially, it's looking very good for you. Right through into next year too, February, March. I'm whizzing it along here. So you've got huge opportunity and opening coming up there, which is like your status and the way the world looks at you and getting recognition for what you do. Yeah.
Great.
So so let's leave that there, Amy.
Okay.
But it's been a pleasure talking to you.
It's been great talking with you, too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Tony and Lucy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Amy. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I have a funny question for you, Phil.
Sure.
Or amusing question, maybe. I mean, have you ever done a chart for any celebrities, maybe the Queen or anybody?
Not directly. I mean, I've got George Stroumboulopoulos, who's a Canadian TV presenter. He's on CNN this summer.
Yeah.
He's been on there. So, and I went on his show here a while ago, a few times, but, December 2011, I was on there, and he asked me to sort of do a prediction on the show for the year ahead, and I sort of saw an area of a chart made me think he was going to go international, or people would like what he's doing, on an international scale, that he would spread his wings beyond Canada. And so I put it on there. Well, you know, they did the video, and well, you know, it was on the show. And sure enough, like over the course of that year, I guess the CNN approached them because they had changed, the top man at CNN changed or whatever, and then they gave them sort of the talk show there over the summer, 10 shows. It's still on now, a little while longer. And sure enough, that area I saw, you know, where you go international came true on him there. And, you know, the actual point where the show went on, there was kind of one hard alignment that was kind of muting it a bit, but I think that's wearing off now, and I think he'll get good reviews, you know, for the show. But yeah, you get things like that. But you know, I'll look at others. You know, I'll maybe look at the Queen or something like that, or presidents, prime ministers, that kind of thing. But you know, but I don't always. I haven't had them as clients necessarily, but
right.
You know, but George Stroumboulopoulos is the one, you know, where I've sort of spoken to him and sort of looked at his chart. Yeah.
Well,
but,
you know what, Phil? It
yeah.
has been absolutely amazing talking to you. I mean, this has been absolutely fascinating. Where can the listeners go to learn more about you and schedule a private chart reading?
Well, just go to booststars.com, my website, and they can contact me there. They can, you know, I write a thought every day. I put a thought for the day on, sort of an idea of what the planets are doing at this time, and then there's the horoscopes as well too. And if they're interested in a chart or, you know, booking in a private reading or something like that, I can do it like Skype, telephone, or in person, and they can get a hold of me there. And then I'll answer their email right away.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
and
great.
I just have to say that you had done my chart previously, and all of the things that you picked up in my past were absolutely dead on. It was absolutely, I mean, you pegged me.
All right. Yeah, interesting, eh? It's amazing what comes up there. It's fantastic, and it does really help, you know. It helps us sort of get a grip on where the future's going and how to apply ourselves. So, yeah, that's great.
And thank you for giving me my reading, because you were I mean, to a T, you actually read everything that gone into my past, and it is. I know how you mentioned it before. It's sort of like, you know, an archaeological dig. As you were reading it to me, that's what it felt like, because there are things that you were mentioning that I haven't thought about in a very long time, and it's almost as if I'm pushing the dirt off to the side, and it's revealing something else for me.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? That's fantastic. Yeah.
Except for that humble thing, I still have questions about that.
What's that?
Except for the humility.
Oh, he's not humble. He's an arrogant.
I would question that.
Yeah, it's up for interpretation.
Yeah, we'll have to rough him up a bit. He's
well,
on his chariot.
I definitely know what our listeners will be doing after the show. They're going to go and log into bootstars.com, and they are going to go and like your Facebook page, which is Phil Bootstars.
Oh, great. So, Facebook,
Thank you again, Phil, and, you know, we would love to have you come on again.
Sure. It's a pleasure doing this. I love it. So, just give me a shout, and we can do this again whenever you like. Let me know. And,
wonderful.
We can check up the readers, look at the charts, and something new always comes up. You'll have more questions. Things will be going on in the world. We can sort of look at what's going on as well, too. And try to figure out how to sort. Yeah, exactly. Watch it all happening. Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, so it's been really interesting meeting you, Lucy and Anthony, and sort of going through all of this. It's been fantastic. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. It has been amazing.
Okay, guys.
Thank you so much, Phil, and best wishes to you and to everything in the future for you.
Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you again. Talk to you later.
Absolutely.
Okay.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.
All right, so you were writing notes down while he was doing my reading?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
I was.
Phil was great. And you know me, I've professed this before. And before I go any further, I just wanted to apologize to the callers. I mean, we've got 20 minutes left in the show. We weren't able to get to everybody that actually called in, and the lines were completely flooded. So we just wanted to apologize for that, and hopes again that we will get Phil back on the show, and maybe we can get into some more readings. And I even like the twist. We should have done that tonight, was actually talk about what's going on in the news and in the world, and see what the stars and the universe actually is communicating in regard to that and how it's affecting it. That would have been really interesting.
Well, actually, that's what we can do. We can ask him back and have him do an astrological forecast for the world.
Yeah, that would be really amazing.
That would be interesting.
What I was trying to get at before is, me, I've had, I've been to psychic readers, and I haven't had my astrological chart done. This is actually the first time. But I've had Lucy do my tarot cards. I've had other people who have done, stuff of that nature for me. And I've always been a skeptic, or if people were reading me, I've never had anyone really pinpoint me to a T as what Phil had done. Mm-hmm. And what's amazing is it's not so much him doing it, it's the stars, it's the constellations, it's the planets, and it all matters about your birth time and date and location. And it was really amazing. I'm actually curious because I do remember what he was talking to me about, but I'm going to go back and listen to the show on archive and replay it again to just sort of catch some things, and maybe I'll play it for some family to see how they how they appreciated it, and maybe they'll call and book an appointment with Phil, because he is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I just want to hear the reaction to the humble.
Contrary to belief of some people, I am humble. I am humble. I'm only,
I know you are.
I'm not humble when, I don't get the recognition, or I don't get, the eyes looking, which is constant. And so I'll sort of break out of that and put a spotlight on whatever it is that I want to shine.
No, he was absolutely dead on. He was dead on for you. And then I'm telling you, what he did for me, he picked up on some things that, like you said, I haven't thought about in years, and he just zoomed right into it.
Mm. Yeah, it was pretty amazing, and we'll definitely have him on again. And just so that everybody knows, I think Lucy mentioned this in the very beginning, or it was probably one of the first questions that you had asked Phil, or not questions, but one of the comments that you had mentioned to Phil in the very beginning of the show was that there were a lot of people that mentioned his name, and to me personally,
yes,
I had come across his name from some ladies in work, and they mentioned it, and they talked about how they would go onto his website, boothstars.com, and just read the thought for the day, and it sort of was like their cup of coffee in the morning. And they would go to his website almost every morning and read what he had to say, and it was sort of an uplifting experience for them that they loved it so much. And I overheard the conversation one day at work, and I said, "Who is this?" And they mentioned, Phil Booth. He's got this great website, and so uplifting, and it's so nice to have that, quote unquote, cup of joe in the morning of his personal thought of the day. And that intrigued me enough to do some research and look into it. And that's when we started to talk about it. We said, hey, let's have Phil on. And as soon as I said that to a lot of people that I know and work who know about Phil, they were like, when are you having this show? When are you having this show? I want to listen. So, I mean, it was great to have him on, and he's got a great fan base, and people think highly of him. And it was pretty interesting also, too, to notice that some of the paracelebs that we had invited to listen to the show tonight actually, or they may still be in chat right now listening, some of the paracelebs actually were interested in it and started to promote the show for us themselves. So they must know him, and they must, go to his website, and it's pretty interesting at what a small world this is.
Well, he certainly lives up to his reputation. And like I said, I posted earlier, out of all the astrologers that I've come across so far, he is absolutely one of the best. So if you get a chance, it's bootstars.com. You can find him on Facebook, and it's Phil Bootstars.
Well, why is that? Why is he the best? I mean, this is the first person that I've ever come in contact with to do an astrological chart. So if you've had others, why is he different? How is he different?
Because he was able to pinpoint certain trends that had happened in my life. Some of the questions that he came up with and some of the situations that he said, oh, well, this means this. He picked up on the birth of my son. He picked up on the problems with my mother. I mean, there is so he was really dead on. And some of the other astrologers that I've come across, they can give you like a forecast. Phil gives you the whole thing. He gives you where you're at now and where you've been. So you see the influences of the planets, and he explains those planets. Where he'll talk about, well, maybe Mars was in this sector. And for me, he also was giving me the astrology part of it. I mean, the mythology part of it, which to me, I love mythology. It was a whole total thing.
Yeah, he when we were reading up on his life, he actually traveled to Greece and studied up on Greek mythology. I mean, it's one thing to pick up a book in a library or to go to a university or a college, even here in the States or in Canada or wherever, and study it. But he actually, flew out and studied in Greece and learned Greek mythology. And I think everywhere that he's traveled, he has studied abroad and picked up the cultural aspects of astrology within those countries, in France and in Europe, all over Europe, and I'm not sure where other countries he's been to, but he was able to sort of melt all those cultures and studies and research and everything that he's received from all those areas into one. And I think that's probably what makes him so well-rounded and well-knowledgeable of the stars and the constellations and the planets, to be able to do the astrology. But I also think, because he mentioned it earlier, that he sort of has that, intuition as well. He has those feelings. He has that spiritual connection, and it probably was that spark. I think he mentioned in the 70s when he sort of changed the shift of his career path to finding the meaning of life, and that tremendous experience that he had back then may have been his calling in life, and the stars and the universe snapped him into it and led him onto this path now. And I think it was good that they did, and that's what his path was. He didn't fight it. He just gave into it, and we're glad he did, because he's an amazing astrologer.
He is definitely a well-rounded world traveler, and as I listen to him, he's not a citizen of Canada. He's a citizen of the world.
That's amazing. I like that.
Okay, so we got 11 minutes yet left, so can we do some business?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let's go to the Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week. And this week, it is Cynthia Quint of Sacramento, California. She likes hiking. She likes Michael Bublé. She likes Michael Story, John Zaffis, James Van Prague, and of course, she likes Paranormal Review Radio. Congratulations, Cynthia, for being a fan, for posting on our Facebook page, and we love you.
Yeah, thanks, Cynthia, and congratulations. So don't forget, if you want to be a Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week, what do you have to do? Just like us on Facebook. That's all. Paranormal Review Radio.
Okay, well, you know what? The next time you hear someone say, "What's your sign?" you may smile with the knowledge that there's quite a bit to be learned about someone by their answer. So many answers seem to be right over our heads. Our astrological forecast can give us an idea of what's in store and, even better, where we've been. No matter how you look at it, The answers you seek may be in the stars. We want to thank Phil Booth for joining us tonight and doing the readings for our callers and for Anthony. It was absolutely amazing. So, stars, we've been talking about it. It makes me think of night. Night makes me think of sleep. Sleep always makes me think of dreams. Have you ever wondered if you can control your dreams? Do you want to know how to take more control over them? Is there more meaning to your dreams than you realize? And how can you transform the control of your dreams to your reality? Well, the answers to these questions and more will be revealed to us next Friday night with our guest, Ryan Hurd. Ryan is a consciousness researcher and an author. He is the founder of DreamStudies.org, a website dedicated to sleep, dreams, and imagination. His new book, Dream Like a Boss, will teach you how to dream and what's holding you back from control. So don't fall asleep before listening to this show, okay? We want to thank everyone for listening. And you know what? You really do make our Friday night so special. Anthony, thank you so much for another amazing show. And in case everybody didn't know it, this Sunday is Anthony's birthday. So I want to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
So until next time, my star seeds, keep looking to the skies and have a paranormal week. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Paranormal Review Radio. Paranormal Review Radio.